5 books and counting. The Tales from the Omni Vault continues to expand as a universe. Go ahead and check the links down in the description to get your copies today. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am the Omni Viewer, and I'm here to once again address an argument that just keeps on surfacing every couple of years, and to once again reiterate why I don't believe it's true. You probably have seen a lot of think pieces popping up recently, or random quotes from different people on Twix and whatnot, all about how movie theaters are dying, just like they've been dying for decades now, it seems. Why are they dying this time? Because, don't you know, Furiosa, the Mad Max spin-off, and The Fall Guy both bombed miserably. In fact, The Fall Guy was in and out of theaters so fast, most people barely even noticed it. And because of that, because they were, well, Furiosa at least was expected to do well because Mad Max Fury Road did so well, that must mean movies are going down the toilet. Movie theaters are going to die and streaming is going to take over once again. This is, of course, coming off of 2023, which is considered one of the worst years for movies ever. And I think it was the CEO of Netflix or something that said that the whole dual success of Barbie and Oppenheimer would have worked just as well on Netflix, and he even said his nephew is in film editing and watched Lawrence of Arabia on his phone, which, if that's true, maybe that nephew has watched Lawrence of Arabia, but he hasn't truly seen it, because that is not a movie you can experience on a screen this big and fully grasp the grandeur of it. But that's beside the point. The point is, everyone is once again saying that movie theaters are dying. Because yeah, there have been some pretty big flops this year. Furiosa was supposed to be a hit and it bombed. Ghostbusters Frozen Empire was expected to do pretty well, and while it wasn't a complete disaster, it certainly performed below expectations. And, of course, Dune Part 2 and Godzilla Kong the New Empire were also disasters. Oh wait, no, they weren't. Actually, Dune Part 2 is so far the highest grossing movie of 2024, with Godzilla Kong the New Empire being the second highest grossing, at least as of this video. And, of course, as Furiosa is floundering, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes is doing really well, having made back many times its budget globally, and is pretty much projected to be another huge success. I think at this point it's like the 4th highest grossing movie of the year, which is probably going to change by the time this video comes out, or sometime down the line. So, looks like the absolute statement that theaters are dying isn't so absolute. Because we've got movies that are succeeding, even though everybody is focusing on the movies that are failing. And, you know, it's not that those failures don't exist. But do they mean that movie theaters are dying? I, once again, do not believe that is the case. But what's really going on then? If this isn't evidence that movie theaters are dying and are going to be replaced by streaming platforms, then what's actually going on? Well, I won't pretend to be an insider, but I do think the answer is pretty obvious when you actually step back and look at the bigger picture. Okay, so like I said, there have been a lot of bombs that have happened, particularly in the genres and franchises that have been expected to do well. The Star Wars sequel trilogy saw a gradual decline in box office over the years. While none of them flopped, Solo notwithstanding, although that's not technically part of the trilogy, there was a measurable decline. And of course, in 2023, MCU movies, DCEU movies, all doing disastrous numbers, even though being superhero movies, they were expected to do much better. The failure of these different movies have all usually been attributed to the prevalence of streaming as the way of the future. But the arguments themselves don't really hold up to scrutiny. First of all, and I guarantee you this is a real argument I've seen people making, There's the claim that going to the movie theater is just too darn expensive. Ticket prices have gone up significantly, and yeah, I will agree with that. We are far removed from the days where you could watch a double feature at the drive-in for a dime. Nowadays, movie tickets are much pricier, although that's largely due to how bad the economy is right now. But then, of course, you gotta add the popcorn and the drinks and any novelty items you may get on there. Except, wait a minute, who said you have to add those things? I mean, you could argue that popcorn is part of the movie experience, but who is twisting your arm to get it? If you're worried about that being a part that makes the movie-going experience too expensive, don't buy the popcorn. Just buy the ticket. And look, you've saved all kinds of money by just paying for exactly what you went to the movie theater for. And if you're going to say, well, what about the novelty popcorn buckets that come for the particular movie I wanted to see? You know what? Still just get the movie ticket. If you watch the movie and you enjoy it, get the bucket on your way out. If you didn't enjoy it, you still saved some money. That whole argument about it being too expensive to go to the movies, that's just a matter of frugality. People just need to be smarter with their money in that case. But there's another argument that I think is even dumber. Okay, so you've probably heard this one circulating around. The reason people don't go to the movies anymore, supposedly, is because streaming is more convenient. And everybody knows that if a movie is going to be on streaming in just a couple of months, there's no rush to go see it in the theaters. They can just wait until it's available on that streaming platform, and then they'll watch it. That's where it'll be more convenient. They don't even have to leave their homes. Well, it sounds like a compelling argument, except the numbers don't support it. Streaming platforms, historically speaking, have not done very well. Like Netflix and Amazon Prime, which were around for well before the so-called streaming revolution, they succeeded largely because, well, Prime succeeded because it was already attached to Amazon, which is the online shopping platform, so people go there all the time anyway. And Netflix succeeded because for the longest time it was the only game in town. Now there are other streaming platforms around, and they claim exclusivity. It's not like on Netflix where you could hop on and find stuff from Disney, Warner Brothers, Universal, Paramount, any sort of indie company, imported foreign films, original content, anime, cartoons, whatever. These companies are setting up exclusive streaming platforms. If you want to watch something that was produced by Disney, you've got to subscribe to Disney Plus. And Disney Plus, of course, has Marvel and Star Wars, which are the dominating franchises right now. If you wanted to watch something from DC, whether it was live action or animated, you had to subscribe to HBO Max. I mean Max. Sorry, sometimes I still forget that was changed. So that creates a sense of scarcity. If you really want to watch this stuff, you've got to subscribe to these things, if you're not going to see it in theaters. And yet, both Max and Disney Plus have been shown to not be doing as well as predicted. They have not brought in big numbers when something like Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom or the remake of The Little Mermaid or The Eternals or something has gone to those platforms. There might be like some increase in numbers, but certainly not so huge that you get the sense that all of these people were just waiting for the movie to not be in theaters anymore so they could watch it at home. It hasn't worked out that way. In fact, if you log on to Tubi right now, you will probably find that a lot of that formerly exclusive DC content is not so exclusive anymore. They've been putting their live-action movies and animated movies onto Tubi, where you can watch them free with ads. Now, why would they have to license them out like that if the platform was doing well? It looks to me like if people aren't interested in seeing a particular movie in theaters, they're not going to be interested to see it once it's streaming. And let us also not forget, subscription fees for these platforms, especially if you want the premium content and no ads and whatnot, that costs way more than a movie ticket and popcorn. So all of these different movies are flopping, but at the same time, we've got movies that are objectively succeeding. 2023 was considered a bad year for movies, sure, but that's also the same year we got Across the Spider-Verse and Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 and Oppenheimer and Barbie for some reason and Godzilla Minus One. And 2024 so far has brought us Godzilla Kong the New Empire, Dune Part 2, and Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. So there are movies that are succeeding. People are clearly still going to the theater. So the claim that theaters are dying is false. What's really going on then? It's simple. People are just being more selective about the kind of movies they go to see in the theater. People aren't stupid. It may take them a while to figure certain things out, but ultimately they do catch on. And the thing is, they have figured out by now that the movies that they thought were going to be great haven't been delivering. Now they're looking for something else, and they're not going to go back to those older things. If the Marvel Cinematic Universe has been on a steady decline since the end of Endgame, maybe there's no reason to keep seeing the latest Marvel movies and shows. If the DC movies are going to get rebooted, then who cares about Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom? If Star Wars is made by people who actively hate the audience, then there's no reason to keep going to Star Wars. If the live-action Disney remakes have no chance of living up to the animated originals, then why go to see the live-action remakes? But at the same time, people still want to see movies in theaters. It's a cultural thing. It's a form of socializing in a way. They're just being more particular. They're paying attention more to if a movie has a particular bend to it, or if it looks like it'll deliver something that other movies haven't been recently. I kind of touched on this when I did the video about why both Godzilla Minus One and Godzilla Kong the New Empire did so well despite being so drastically different from each other, but I think the same thing applies in a broader sense. If you look around, the movies that are succeeding are the ones that are delivering what audiences have been longing for. Some of them are delivering more serious, dramatic content that is actually thought-provoking, not pushing an agenda, but encouraging the audience to think about things. Other stuff is just aiming for pure escapism, encouraging people to just leave their cares at the door and be transported to a wild and crazy place where maybe things are fun, maybe things are harrowing, but it doesn't have anything to do with your real troubles, so you can just sit back and enjoy yourself. And in all cases of the stuff that's succeeding, it's made by people who actually respect the source material and respect the audience. And this is speaking to people. It's basically people voting with their wallets. They're saying they don't want to see this other stuff anymore that's bad, but they're going to support the stuff that they do want to see, especially if it's good. Now, unfortunately, that does mean some stuff that maybe doesn't deserve to fail is going to wind up failing as a result because of how it's perceived to be. People are sick of modern girl boss movies. All those who have seen it insist that Furiosa is not a girl boss movie, but it looks like one, so it's being avoided. People are sick of nostalgia-baiting remakes and prequels and sequels. Wonka is absolutely one of those. It's a better example of one if you ask me, but it still fits the bill and people are sick of it, so they avoided that as well. The Fall Guy could have worked because it's an original IP and people are certainly looking for original stuff. That one I think is just a case of bad advertising because the trailer just leaves you baffled. Go watch the trailer for yourself and it's like, what is this movie actually about? Is it meant to be more Marvel action or more Mission Impossible action? Is the main character supposed to be taken seriously or is he a joke? Is there a romance or isn't there? Why the Bon Jovi song? What is the plot? I don't think people knew what to make of it, hence why it didn't do well. Maybe it didn't deserve it, but it's a little late for that now. And look, stuff failing because of the shifting tides and not because it's actually bad, but actually it deserved to succeed, yeah, that sucks. It's unfair. That's the environment that's been set up at this point, though. The fact is, the pendulum swung so quickly in one direction that naturally it's going to swing back just as quickly in the other direction. And it's going to take a little bit more time to get it centered again. But the fact remains, people are still going to the theaters. Streaming is not killing anything. Think about it this way. Movie theaters as an establishment have been around for over 120 years. The streaming revolution hasn't even been going for 5 years, and it's been gasping for air the whole time. What kind of a threat does it pose? The only thing it's really changing is TV. That's the thing. People are not subscribing to different streaming platforms because of movies. They're subscribing because of shows. When Peacock came along, what was the major selling point? You could watch all of The Office. That's how they advertised it. Subscribe at the right tier, and you can watch the entirety of The Office anytime. The Office is a TV show, not a movie. That was the draw. And that's what people usually look for in streaming, I think. They're not looking for the movies. Movies are things you see in theaters, at least at first. So that's the way I see it. There are changes that are going on, it's true, and I do think there will need to be some more adaptations happening in order to achieve the balance, but I still don't think movie theaters are going anywhere. I think people are finally starting to send the message of what they want to see in theaters versus what they don't want to see, and they're sending that message in a way that Hollywood executives understand, with money. I could be wrong, I realize, but when I'm looking around at all of this stuff, that's what I see, and I'm fairly confident that's the answer. But I guess only time will tell. Until such time as we meet again, this is the Omni Viewer signing off. Thank you all for watching. Now be sure to head down to the description to check us out on other platforms, as well as find links to the 5 current books in the Tales from the Omni Vault universe. Again, thank you all, and we'll see you next time.